Hey everyone, welcome to Drifting On Purpose, where we explore the ebb and flow of the uncertainties of life and how to authentically navigate them. We are your hosts, and I'm Azriel.
And I'm Addie. Our mission is to cultivate a community of deep thinkers looking to take the path less traveled and to uncover their true selves.
Topics range from authenticity, overcoming challenges, finding your purpose, and so much more.
We can't wait to share our conversations, our community, and our stories with you. So be sure to like, subscribe, and follow along. Thanks for being here. Your support is so appreciated.
On today's episode, I have the honor and the pleasure and the privilege to interview Addie Perkins, my co-host. Yay! And we get to have a really special conversation. I'm really looking forward to this. As you know, Addie is not only a successful realtor, but she is an amazing mother. She's a sister, a daughter, and a friend to so many. She is also the 2024 National PTI Doubles Paddle Tennis Champion. And I'm sure if you have been following along, you have been able to hear her sincerity, her caring, and her compassion, and just her overall excitement about some of these really deep and challenging topics and ideas that have been important to us as a show, that we are so honored to be able to promote and discuss here. And I'm just really excited to dig a little deeper today and have this conversation so you, the listener, can learn a little bit more about Addie.
Well, thank you. I'm so honored. I feel like that intro was amazing. I feel like a rock star. So thank you.
Well, you are a rock star. Yeah. Hey.
No, I'm just so excited to have this opportunity to talk with you and our guests just about this entire journey, why we started it, what we've learned, and where it's going.
Yay. And so everyone knows this is also a special episode because this is the last one in our first season.
Crazy to think about. I mean,
It flew
it
by.
was a tiny little idea back in the summer of 2023, and
Yeah,
we're wrapping up our first season, which is awesome,
it
you
is.
know?
It's amazing. And it's been so much fun, really. And I've learned so much. So it's just been awesome to do this with you, Addie. Truly.
It really has been. And I'm so grateful. And I'm just so proud of us. And I think it really helps to have an accountability coach as your partner in this podcast because I mean, it's been a journey, and it's been a lot of work and it's been incredible, and I'm just so thankful to have had this opportunity to do this with you and to just interview so many amazing people, including yourself. So yeah, it's been
And that's
awesome.
kind of how this came about because you had this idea to interview me. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so nice. And then we had to come up with this idea to wrap up this season. And I'm like, well, we need to do one about you and we can wrap it up at the same time. And I think people want to know more about you. And
Aw,
so I want to ask the first question. And so
sure.
people that know you really well or people that are close to you have said to me that Addie's generally like a private person. Like she doesn't really give much about her. She doesn't just not give much, but talk about much about her private life. And that's even something that you brought to my attention when we first started this. So, what was one reason that you wanted to do this podcast and be so open about your feelings, your opinions, and your personal life?
You know, I think for me, just looking back on the last few years, like I really struggled with a lot of stuff, like going through a pretty toxic divorce, you know, feeling like certain figures in the community were sort of turning their backs. And I just felt like there was an identity crisis along with, this divorce and just a lot of toxicity going on in my life. And I talked to my therapist, but in reality, it's like you still feel, or I felt like I was struggling alone. And it was really hard to sort of navigate these waters without really fully like grasping that, like, I may not be the only person struggling. And so I know, when we first connected, we just had a cup of coffee and we were just talking about our lives, like catching up. Like I hadn't seen you in years.
Mm.
I had no idea that you had gone through your own divorce, and I had no idea you had your own personal struggles. And for me, it was in a weird way a sense of comfort knowing that like you were open enough to share your story with me, and that it was okay to not always be strong and to be able to share my story with you. And I think even through those mini conversations that we had, I felt this huge weight just lifted off my shoulders, knowing that like you don't have to struggle alone, and like there are really good people out there and there are people that support you. It's just sometimes you have to take that first step into opening up, if that's feels comfortable to you, to sort of start that healing journey. Mhm.
Oh, that's wonderful. I feel kind of honored.
Oh,
This
I
conversation.
feel honored. I mean, yeah, you shared a big part of your life with me, and I just felt like, you gave me the confidence to open up myself and
Yeah,
allow myself to share parts of my story. Um, yeah, so thank you.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Come on. Okay, next question.
I'm in the hot seat. Let's
Yeah,
go.
let's go. What are your biggest lessons you have learned from doing this podcast then, right?
Yeah.
Because you wanted to do this and have this experience. So what are you learning out of this?
There's so many like nuggets of wisdom. I think from a personal experience, my motto for this year was I can do hard things, right? So, just because you have an idea, like you shouldn't just stop there. And I think this entire process has given me confidence that like if you put your mind to something, you put in the work, and you're genuinely interested in what you're doing, like it can turn into such a beautiful experience. And we're not doing this for money. We're just doing this to open up the conversation and have fun and hopefully help people. So I think it was a major confidence boost,
Cool.
and knowing that like I can do hard things in the midst of like turmoil. So that was definitely one experience. I think another one, just through interviewing different people and having these conversation, one of the biggest lessons I learned was that connection is so important. you
Mm,
know whether it's connection to the outside world of sort of beyond the material things. So like our first episode was about the two mountain theory, right? Or whether it's like authenticity and connecting to yourself, connecting to vulnerability, connecting to that authenticity. Sensei Victoria Whitfield, she talked about connection to spirit,
mm,
right? So like when things feel, or connection to nature, right? Sitting with a tree, getting outside, getting beyond your phone, your screen, right? Um, Barbara Fredrickson talking about connection to others, starting small and branching out. Even Catherine Gignac talking about connection to life flow, being open to experiences, saying hell yes. And if it's not a hell yes,
mm,
being okay to redirect yourself.
mhm,
Um, Dr. Will Cole talking about connection to your gut and your health, and how the mind and the body all connect with each other. Dr. Susan Amoros talking about connection to your biofield,
mm,
and how that affects those around you. Tom Morris, connection to life experiences, making connections through them, opening up the doors that like you may have never thought ever existed unless you took that step to talk to somebody next to you, or, you know, took the path less traveled, whatever that might be. And Cole Zesiger, connection to self for better connections with relationships moving forward. So when you boil everything down, right, and you hear all these different nuggets of wisdom, it really truly is about connection and how you connect with yourself and others. And I just thought that was such a beautiful message because, again, sort of going back to why we even started this podcast, is feeling like I didn't have anybody to connect to when I was going through such a hard time and feeling very disconnected with myself, my community, and those around me. And so, having that realization through all of this was very profound.
mm. Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Mhm.
Connect on purpose.
Connect on purpose. I know. And it's so, you connect on purpose. Yes. Yeah. I mean, you couldn't have said it better.
Oh, well said. I love that summary of our season to think about all those times. And you're absolutely right how important those connections are, and obviously us connecting in this way. and supporting each other through these trials and through this transformational experience that we're all going through, right? Has been so amazing. So speaking of connection,
Yeah.
then what are you connecting to? What is your next thing for you then? How do you use that information for your life going forward?
Yeah. Well, I think just with this little boost of confidence,
Mm.
it's allowed me to feel more confident stepping into the unknown, right? So before it's kind of like, I don't know, like I just like my life as it is right now, it's kind of crazy, but I think I can manage. And now it's just like I am open to possibilities coming my way and taking on experiences that feel good,
Mm.
right? And kind of being more aligned with my own gut and my own like higher self to be like, don't waste your energy over here, right? It's
Mm.
okay to say no. Like you don't always have to say yes because you're afraid somebody might get their feelings hurt or you may disappoint someone. So for me, I think it's helped me reconnect with my inner self so that I can connect to experiences and people that feel more aligned with me and being okay with letting things go that may not necessarily feel good. Um, and so that's been super important for me.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
Oh my goodness. I love
Yeah.
that for you. And I'm so happy that this experience and these conversations could reveal that for you and show you that. That's really,
Thank you.
really
Yeah.
special.
Yeah. And there are certain connections in my life that are always going to have to be there that aren't necessarily healthy, right?
Yes.
And I think, just having those connections, but also being more aware of my inner peace, right? I know that I don't have to engage in that toxic behavior anymore to protect myself, to protect my daughter, and to, protect even the people around me that may feed off of that negative energy. And so, not saying that it's super easy and that, I can just say goodbye to the things that don't always align, but even just managing them differently and seeing it from a different perspective, I think has been very helpful.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know, who was your favorite guest we interviewed?
Oh my God, that's so hard. I mean, I'm so grateful for everybody that took the time
Mhm.
um, to just sit with us and who believed in us and who wanted to be on this podcast. And so I think and they all like, even though like the overall message seemed to all connect, quote
Yeah.
unquote, like I was blown away by the knowledge they all provided. I'll be honest, I didn't know much about Tim Morris before he came onto our show. And I think his energy and his experiences or like his life experiences and just the way he talks was so captivating and so positive.
Mhm.
And just the fact that he was able to meet with us and record for a second time, like that was so awesome to me, right? And I'm such a health nut. Like I love all things health related. I love learning about the brain, the vagal nerve, all that stuff. And so Dr. Will, just talking to him, that was really cool for me too. Just because I like studying up on that stuff.
Yeah.
So, but no, I'm just super, super pumped that everyone was on board.
Yeah, I totally agree. They offered so many different variations of perspectives, and I really like that broadness that we got. But everyone brought something really special and unique. Someone that I actually was really pleasant because I didn't know, like you didn't know about Tom Morris, I didn't know about Coach Cole,
Yeah.
and about him and his experience, and I was like really captivated by him and
Mhm.
how he was so casual and so effortless and so easygoing. And I like seeing you. You're like kind of like this is like a star because you were following him for so long.
Yeah, yeah. And he helped me with my own personal experience. So it's like to actually get to ask him questions
Yeah.
was amazing. And I think something that's really freaking cool is that everybody we reached out to,
Yeah.
they all said yes.
Yeah, it's true.
And like that gives me faith that like there are good people out there that want to spread good messages and you want to help other people. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
So, mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I see a confidence in you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I do think, that you have there's a shine within you that is coming out, and you've been through so many things. And even during this like 14-week period or however long we've been recording, we both have had challenges during those times. In the
Yes.
midst of challenge, before we would go on camera, it's like, crap, this thing happened. It's like, okay, hi everyone.
Like, hey, brush it off, like
I'm back to drifting on purpose.
smile.
Yeah. And I think even through all of those trials, I'm seeing this change and this manifest in you, this confidence in you. I just want to tell you that and reflect that back to you.
You. No, that means so much. It really does. Especially, as someone who's struggled with confidence pretty much my whole life. I really feel like I haven't stepped into like my own self until like my mid 30s.
Yeah.
And so the fact that you said that, it just means a lot. And I really appreciate it. So thank you.
Well, you're ahead of the curve because I didn't step until I was 40. So, hey,
But hey, according to your mom, the 40s are like the best decade ever. So
that's
bring
exactly
on.
right. 40s are the best. They have been so far. So I'll
That's
take it.
amazing.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I really appreciate that. And I want to be a good example for my daughter Lucy.
Tell me,
Knowing that,
tell me more about that, please.
yeah, Lucy struggles a little bit with confidence. I mean, she's 4.5, but some of her teachers sort of have noticed that, she needs a little extra reassurance. And being a female and sort of seeing her struggle with some of these things so early on in her life, like I want to be able to show her that like, you know, confidence is awesome, and being your best advocate is something that I wish I learned at an earlier age, because I think so many people, not just women, not just children, but males as well, we struggle to find who we are, especially in this society where everything seems to be like projected outwards in like if I put this image out, whatever people are going to say about me, that's how I'm going to feel internally when really it should be flipped. And so I want Lucy to know, like, I want her to feel confident from within, whether she expresses herself through art or sport or music, something entirely different. I want her to always feel like she can be herself
Mm.
and she has her own voice that she can, speak for herself if I'm never not around or her dad's not around, just coming into that and really owning who she is.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I wish like as a female, I learned that at a much earlier age.
Yeah, that is beautiful. And I'm right there with you. I'm trying to do that for my kids too. And they struggle the same way. My kids, like the other day, I
Mhm.
was like, didn't do good on his math test or whatever it was. Like, I'm a failure. I'm like, no, what? Excuse me? What?
Yeah. Yeah.
Some questions wrong. You're not a failure, right? Like, that is not who you are. And
Hmm.
I love that you want to teach that and spread that. And it just makes me think of this book called Resilience. It's by Eric Greitens. He's a
Hmm.
Navy SEAL, and he says most of us do what you're saying. We feel something, then we act on it, and then we label ourselves. Like,
Hmm.
I don't feel like doing the dishes, so I don't do it. I go watch TV instead. Then I tell myself I'm lazy, I'm a bad father, and I don't do what I say I'm going to do.
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
Because that's
Yeah.
backwards. That's
Yeah.
backwards. He says, first we have to know who we are. Who
Mhm.
are you? I am a good father and I take care of my home. That's who I am. The dishes need to be done. I'm going to do it anyway. And
Yeah.
then I influence how I feel. I feel pretty darn good. And I feel
Yeah.
proud of myself. So how
Yeah.
do we start flipping that? And I applaud you for wanting to teach her a sense of who she is
Mhm.
and I would recommend calling that out in her. This is who she is.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you're doing that. I'm sure you're doing that.
Thank you. I try. And again, I think it was, through some of these dark experiences that I had to
Mhm.
fully understand how important that is, because when I decided to divorce my husband or my ex-husband, I had an identity crisis. I was terrified what the community was going to think of me, right? I was terrified of breaking up my family. Like I was terrified of all these outward things of how I was going to be perceived.
Mhm.
And it took me a lot of convincing for myself to be like, I am human, right? Like humans make mistakes. And if like stuff is going on and it's not making you feel good, or you've tried to express yourself and you're not being heard, and the same like toxic patterns keep like replaying themselves over and over and over again, like, would you want your child to be in that same situation? And so for me, it's like, I had to kind of walk through that fire to really understand that, like, even though a broken home or a divorce may not always be seen as kosher, it's what I had to do in order to make my, like, keep myself from going down a deep depression hole, right? And saving myself so that I could be a better mother to my kid. And I think that's what I want her to know, is that, like, humans make mistakes. We all do, right? I mean, this is the first time you're a parent. This is the first time I'm a parent. This is the first time our children are children, and they're going to grow up and they're going to become who they are. And everybody's doing life for the first time, right? At least in these human forms. And so to put this pressure on us that we have to get everything right,
Mm.
it's just silly. Like, it's unrealistic, you know? So I try to give everybody a little bit more grace, maybe, than I did, even myself. Because one mistake doesn't paint you with a permanent brush.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, they say perfectionism is like the lowest standard you can have
mhm.
because it always gives you a reason to never achieve anything because it's like, well, it's too hard to hit, so I'm never going to do it anyway.
Exactly. And then you sandbag yourself, and then you end up feeling like crap anyways, because you can't hit those marks,
Yeah.
you know? So anybody listening out there, just know that you're human, know that there are experiences that you're going to nail. And then there's going to be experiences where you may stumble, but eventually get across the finish line and have a ton of experience and, like, lessons within that time frame too. So, you know, I think perspective too is really important, and knowing that, like, it's not failing, it's just redirecting and learning a lesson. Sometimes it's a harder lesson to learn, but
Yeah.
you know.
Right. And we've talked about this before. Obstacles make us stronger.
Exactly. Yeah.
Obstacle is
And
the way.
obstacle is the way. Exactly. Like, nobody wants to coast through life anyways. It gets boring.
I love how you just talked to the audience. And my last question was going to be, what do you
Mhm.
want the biggest thing for our listeners to actually know from
Yes.
our season? Do you have something? Drop some more wisdom on us,
For
Addie.
sure. So, I think the biggest thing is connection, right? So, connection to self, connection to others, just broadening your perspective on life in general is so important. Like, we're not designed to do life alone.
Hmm.
Whether it's one friend, maybe it's five friends, maybe it's a family member, maybe it's your chosen family, like, you should not have to do life alone. And that connection is so important. And connect to things that you like to do. Play tennis, go outside, go for a walk, like, make more time outside of, like, your phone and your work. Cause I think it eats us up, and I think it makes us cranky. So I think that would be my first little nugget of wisdom, connect,
Yeah.
have fun, you know, live your life. And I think the second one would, again, just be, give yourself grace.
Mm.
Like, be open to making mistakes, expect to make mistakes. And as long as you're learning from them and gaining some perspective or insight, or something, it's never a lesson that's, like, you're not going to learn. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think just allowing yourself the grace to mess up, will make us all a little more human. And I think it'll make us a little more open and empathetic to other people.
And like you said, it's part of the process.
Mm-hmm.
We needed to
Exactly.
learn this lesson for some reason. Heck,
Yeah, exactly.
but I know why I had to go through this crap, but I did, and I'm learning these lessons, so I'll take it.
Exactly.
All for me.
Exactly.
Life is all for me.
Yeah. And lead with love. I think
Mm.
there's so much hate going on. I feel like people are so angry these days. And I think if we can, I know that there's certain things that we can't control, right? And of course, you can have reactions and emotions to it. But I think if you can extend gratitude or empathy to a neighbor, stranger, or something in your community where you sort of step out of like not feeling like you have to control everything, but if there's one thing you can control, it's maybe how you can potentially show up for others in
Yeah.
your community. So
Even if it's just a smile, I like that.
exactly. Yeah. It can be free. You can just say, hey, I love your outfit. That's amazing. You look great. Or yeah, so it doesn't have to be huge, but
No.
I think it's important. Yeah. Mhm.
Yay.
Hey, and to our listeners, I just want to say thank you so much for believing in us too, and for listening every week, and for everybody that we interviewed. You don't know how much this means to us. Like, we had a small little idea in the summer, and we never imagined it being as awesome and fulfilling as it was. So, again, I just want to extend my gratitude to everyone. And of course, you, Azriel. I mean, you've just been an awesome co host. Like, I can't wait to do this again with you. I can't wait to come up with new people to interview because you are just a light. Like, you're so, like, just so positive and so sweet and so genuine. And I'm just so lucky to do this with you. So thank you.
Oh, right back at you. Thank you, thank you,
Thank
thank
you.
you. This has been so rewarding in so many different ways for me and in ways I didn't even realize. And so just thank you. Thank you to you, Addie, and thank you to the listeners as well, the people who have been listening, and just so appreciative for to give us your time weekly. Truly, truly, truly an honor. Yeah.
And hey, guys, if there's anyone else you think we should interview, any topics you want us to discuss, we plan to do a season 2, so stay tuned. But yeah, let us know. Let us know.
Yeah, send us an email. I'll put an email in our description. Well, there's always one, but I'll put the email up there. I'll put it on our YouTube. Email us some topics, some people to interview. That's a great idea. I love that. We would love to hear from you.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for catching us on another episode of Drifting on Purpose. Be sure to subscribe, like, and comment so we can continue to cultivate a community of deep thinkers. We'll see you next week. Or actually, we'll see you next season.
Thanks, guys.